Hey guys, thanks for tuning into today's video. So today we're going to be going over this beautiful vintage MPP. We're going to be going over the specifics of this certain variant MPP, and also we're going to be going over the specifics of making this the V1 compared to the on-screen prop, which there's only a few photos of it. So a little bit of a backstory. This hilt is the first lightsaber we see in Star Wars. Now it was on Darth Vader's belt when he enters the Tantive 4 in A New Hope. And clearly you can see these silver sidebars, and this is the V1. So we see this in A New Hope, and it's the first lightsaber we see, even though we don't see it ignited, obviously. So this hilt is a large B port, and clearly you can see that the opening of the B port is large. And unfortunately, I don't have a small B port to compare to the size. And one very rare part of this hilt, it is a original vintage single step shroud aluminum, and most vintages you see or find have the two-step, which isn't accurate to any of the Darth Vader lightsabers. It's the one step on the V2 and A New Hope. So that was a very nice find. It obviously came with the straight knurled thumb screw, which is accurate. It doesn't have the red S there, engraving on the S, and these have a certain set of screws for the bulb release, because there's certain variants where there are different style screws. So this specific variant has these style screws, and then it has the more of a matte looking clamp, which is accurate to A New Hope. And then one thing is up here is this button was clear when it was set. This certain variant had a clear button here, which was then dyed to black to match the screen use prop. And this specific also had the matching clear clamp sleeve, which was painted. So that's one thing to take note for this certain variant, is the button was clear, which is dyed black, and the sleeve was clear, and it was painted black to match the screen prop. And then coming down the flash from the clamp, this specific pommel is missing the 3 circle engravings on the piece here. The bottom black piece is supposed to have circle engravings, I've heard, but this one does not, and this pommel is in very good shape. I previously had a V2 that I showcased on the channel. I unfortunately sold that a while ago, and it had a lot of a common thing is the pommel gets dented, just because as it was used, but this pommel is in really good shape. And then also this specific variant has the flat socket. And what I mean by flat socket, usually it doesn't have this flat lip, I guess you can say. So this is a certain feature of this variant, vintage MPP, is the flat bulb socket on top here. So just something to take note. But okay, as I just went through the features of this specific vintage MPP and what need to be addressed, let's go over the accuracy details on this hilt. So with that said, obviously the vintage one-step aluminum shroud. This is screen accurate to A New Hope, as we can see in the reference photo, the 2 photos. And you can see the finish on this shroud is a lot more texturized than the 2-step, because I've had 2-steps in the past, and there's a lot of texture on this 1-step shroud. It's very nice. There's some nicking, and so I'm going to keep this original. I'm not going to mess with it at all. A little bit of rubbing, I assume, from the being used as camera equipment, but very cool. And then you have your flat bulb socket. Very nice. And then this is a found part D-ring, shaped to the right size and thickness. And then you have your straight knurled thumb screw that matches the prop. And then stepping down from the shroud, you have the bulb release, as well as the button, which is now painted black to match the prop. And then this tag was removed from the gentleman that did the work on this prop for me. So this came obviously with the MPP badge, and it was removed very nicely, no damage. And he also removed the core and cleaned the core for me, which is very nice. So you can see the tabs in their accurate position on the flash. And then obviously the large B port for this specific V1 hilt makes it accurate. And then stepping down from the B port, there is the clamp, which this clamp is the more matte finish for A New Hope versus the glossy black for ESB. So this is accurate with the factory clamp that was used on the flash, on the specific flash. And then like I said earlier, this clamp sleeve was painted black to match instead of the clear, which the clear is inaccurate. And then right here, guys, you have the number 10 nail that was bent to keep the bubble strip in place. And this was just a, common found number 10 nail, obviously. And then for this specific prop, I was very debating on, because I don't like messing with the original flash, because if I wanted to put this back, I couldn't if I had the vintage lever used on this prop. I went a lot of back and forth. I'm like, okay, I'll use a Roman's lever. And I'm like, I messaged the gentleman that did this prop for me, and I was like, you know what? Let's just go all in on this prop. I want to be accurate as possible as I can be, and let's do the vintage lever. So I decided to have him use the vintage lever to bend it to support the nail, which is done very nicely. So vintage lever used on this. And then this specific bubble strip is out of the Exactor 20/TI 2000. This bubble strip came with the V2 card. It is the fully rounded bubbles, which is specific to this prop. And I bought this from a gentleman, and it was already cut and placed. It was cut and trimmed to spec, and it is in its screen accurate orientation where it is sitting in the clamp. You can see. And then the silver sidebars, there's actually, this specific hilt came with one sidebar, and it was black, but it was straight. And the gentleman that finished off this prop for me was able to find another black straight sidebar. So he removed all the black paint on this to make them silver to match the screen accurate prop. Now there is variants of MPPs that come, I guess, factory with silver straight sidebars that aren't sanded down, obviously, but to make this accurate, that's what we had to do. So those are these silver straight sidebars, accurate to the prop, and the lever is bent perfectly. And it's said to believe that the lever assembly broke on this clamp, obviously, so they had to affix a nail, and they bent it, and they, to tighten it, you push it down to keep the whole clamp assembly in place with the bubble strip. So that's what they did. That's why we call it, the V1, the bent nail, because this specific prop has this specific modification to it, making it a bent nail. So, yeah. And then this clamp, has a few nicks and whatnot. It doesn't have a lever mark, which is nice. A little bit there, but overall, the clamp is very good shape and flat black to match the prop. And as you can see here, orientation-wise, obviously the shroud is center with the S-port. The center of the shroud, I should say. And then the clamp positioning is in between these two ports to the side. So V2, it'll be straight on the S port, the clamp will be, but for V1, it's off to the side in between these two. Just an accuracy detail. And then in terms of the clamp positioning, is accurate to the grips. And you can see the wonkiness, which is, I love it, of the grips, how they're cut. You can see this one is longer than the others, as unequal spacing. It's unequal on the bottom. You got one with a little bit of gap, one with a little bit of gap. And these grips are angled as they were on the prop. Each one is specifically angled and specifically cut and placed to match the screen use prop. And you can see this one is, you know, butted up. That one's butted up. That one's spaced on the pommel. You know, it's just very wonky and very just awesome, I think. And then stepping down from the grips, we have the pommel. Like I said earlier, the pommel's in really good shape. And it's said that the pommel has 3 circle engravings on the black cap, and this pommel does not. So otherwise, with the hand that was dealt, this definitely turned out fantastic. I found this flash on eBay for a really good price, and actually a friend sent it to me because I wanted to get back into a vintage MPP, and I couldn't believe that this had the vintage one-step shroud on it, which is quite rare in the community, and it was perfect that it was on this flash already. And I've had V2s before. I did, you know, small B port with a Wanawanga one-step shroud and with a V2 card, but I was like, you know what, if this has one step and the large B port, it's kind of a no-brainer to go with a V1 bent nail. So that's what we did. So this is definitely my prized possession in my prop collection. As if you guys are watching my videos, you know I'm more focused on the New Hope props, especially Vader, but it's going to change a little bit. There's a few other flashes and props I have that I'm going to be doing to kind of have the collection a little variety, specifically a New Hope, and then there's another one that I inquired about. So it's Vader themed, but you guys are just going to have to stay tuned with that. And yeah, I just wanted to make a nice in-depth video on the specifics of this certain variant MPP, because like I said, there is a lot of variation on the MPPs, you know, screen accurate wise, certain things to look for. Like I said, the large B port, one-step shroud for the specific one. Even the screws can be different as to different style screws, the faces of them, and different colored clamps, different style sidebars. You can have silver straight sidebars. You can have black straight sidebars. You can have angled trapezoidal sidebars for ESB. You can have more of a black with a tapering straight sidebar for V2. A lot of variation, as well as the clamp can be satin coloring to match a New Hope, or it can be glossy for ESB. You can have a clear button and a clear sleeve like this specific variant had, or it can have a black button with a black sleeve. It can have a one-step aluminum shroud. It can have a two-step shroud. A lot of variation, little things. There can be, I even looked up a specific where the lever can be a certain shape and size, which is pretty cool. But yeah, this clamp had to be as well as bent a certain way in order to fit the bubble strip and to be accurate, the orientation of the clamp, how it pinches the bubble strip. But yeah, this is a very specific bubble strip for this specific prop. And yeah, and then as well as the circles on the pommel, the black section of the pommel, that can be different. But yeah, little things, definitely little things to make this certain variation prop more difficult. But like I said, this specific specification and variation of the vintage flash, it was a no-brainer to go with a V1 bent nail. So yeah, guys, I really appreciate you stopping into today's video to check out this prop. I've been showcasing it on my Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, please do it, Strike Back Props, where you can see some, not behind the scenes, but I post on my story of projects, and I also post some pictures and kind of information. But anyways, thank you guys. I really appreciate you taking the time and watching this very long, in-depth video. I hope you have a great day and take care.